Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course, and we are pleased to be joined by one of the Kulwicki Driver Development finalists. Of course, it was announced last night, the 7 drivers that were in there, and of course, Kate Ree is one of them. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. Okay, so for people that don't know, before we get into the scholarship last night, kind of tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Kate Ray. I am 18 years old and I am from Harrison, Maine. I am currently a senior at Maine Connections Academy, which is an online high school platform, which helps me benefit my time more with racing so I can focus a little bit more on my racing more than sitting in a classroom all day focusing on academics. I started racing go-karts at the age of 8 years old at Richmond Karting Speedway in Richmond, Maine, where I raced those for 5 years, collected a lot of wins, a couple championships, and set a track record. From there, I ran double duty in 2017, running a go-kart and an Allison Legacy at Wiscasset Speedway, where I kind of got my feet wet in full-size cars and learning a lot about just everything about them, setup, tires, shocks. That's really where I learned to work on my stuff by myself because my parents had full-time jobs working 9 to 5. I'd get home from school and just go right into the race shop, work on my go-karts, my car. And then in 2018, I decided to take a big step into a past modified. I just turned 14, so I was finally able to run the past tour. Which was huge for me. About halfway through my season, I picked up my first podium. And then actually championship day in my first season in a modified, I picked up my first career win with a standing ovation at Oxford Plains Speedway. Then that carried my momentum into 2019, where I was supposed to sign a deal with Crazy Horse Racing to run a Port City race car super late model in 2020. Where that kind of fell through and we went our own path. But in 2019, I picked up a couple wins in a past mod, again, some more past mod wins. And in 2020, I kind of set sail on my own journey, trying to accomplish my own goals. Where when I first started racing go-karts, I told myself I wanted to be 16 and qualify for the Oxford 250 and be the first female to do so. Well, I did just that, being the first female to race their way into the 250 without a guaranteed provisional or starting spot. So it kind of felt good to prove myself to everyone that I can do what all these guys can do, especially if I really put my mind to it. And then in 2021, I got my third Fury after we got rid of our first one. I took that brand new car to Thompson and put it in the wall on lap 32 in practice, broke my thumb. So we had a rough start to 2021. And then a couple weeks later, I went out at Lee and actually made more past history by being the highest finishing female with a 3rd place finish. And then I kind of carried that momentum throughout the rest of the season last year. We had a couple rough races. At Hudson, we had a good run. We were faster than everyone in the field by 0.2, but got caught up in some melee with a flat tire and a hole put in the radiator. But we finished the season on a high note with a couple top 5s in points in the past tour. And I'm excited for 2022 with racing with the Kulwicki program and our own kind of deal, running our own series. Okay,
so of course you mentioned it. Of course, last night, you're one of the 7 drivers that were finalists for the Alan Kulwicki Scholarship. What did that mean? How did you find out?
Well, starting back to when this program, when the application process started, we had some friends actually at the Snowball Derby, Derek Griffith, and he sent me a Facebook message saying, "Hey, you need to fill this out when it comes out." And then his spotter, Dolly, the next day said, "Hey, you got to do this." So I'm like, okay. So I sat down once the application process came out and I filled out my application. I honestly didn't really have high hopes for it because it seems like everything I do like this kind of never works in my favor. And then the semifinalists came out about a month ago And I honestly, it was nothing that I expected to even make it that far. It was a huge eye opener that I can do this, and I just need to keep going with this. And then I got a call Monday night from Alan Dietz from Racing America saying, "Hey, can you be on the? Can we record an interview for the Bull Ring tomorrow? So Tuesday." He said, "We won't talk anything about Hickory because we know it was a rough weekend. Just going ahead." So I was thinking it was going to be about Thompson, just our next race of the season. Well, then I get to record my interview come Tuesday, and he said, "Well, I kind of lied to you. You're the first pick for this year's 2022 Kulwicki Driver Development Program." And I was honestly so shocked. I wasn't expecting this at all. Just to be a small team, a family-run team from a small town in Maine. It was honestly kind of cool for me and my family just to have that recognition from Kulwicki and to carry the name for Allen and their colors this season. I owe a huge thank you to Derek Griffith for all his help and support along the way throughout this program, for his letter of recommendation and everything like that. And I actually, when I called my mom after my interview to tell her, she was at work and she started crying. So it was kind of cool just to know how excited my mom was to hear.
No, that's amazing. Of course, Derek Griffith's someone who I know personally as well. We had on the channel actually a few weeks ago. Somebody that, of course, runs his own business and then just tries to, get a racing career. Of course, he'll be in the Xfinity Series with Sam Hunt Racing in a few weeks. What has he meant to you in your racing career?
Well, when I first started racing the past mod, I never really knew who Derek Griffith was. It really started to come about in 2020 when I jumped on the past tour with the Supers. I really started to get to know Derek. Going way back, my dad and his crew chief, Louis, used to help each other when Louis ran cars.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a whole way back when to now. In 2020, I really looked up to Derek Griffith and Ben Rowe for my first season in a super. Derek guided me a lot when I had questions and everything like that. So didn't Ben. And then we went into 2021 where I struggled a little bit at the start, and then it finally came to. Derek was someone I really relied on. Derek took my car out in 250 practice last year and in 2020 just to see if his driving compared to mine on the handling of the car, just so my crew guys could get a better understanding. Derek has always been our go-to when we need advice or help, especially his crew chief, Louis. Every time we raced last year, we'd always pit side by side to help each other and just someone to ask questions to. I was fortunate enough to have his spotter, Dolly, when he wasn't racing last season. She helped me a lot just to understand their aspects of where they started and where they're coming from. I've learned so much from Derek, from not only just how to present myself on social media to marketing myself, my driving, just really anything I've needed.
Okay, so who did you grow up looking up to? Who are your racing heroes?
Well, actually, my racing heroes I finally got to race against. I really looked up to DJ Shaw and Ben Rowe. I really never knew much about racing until I was about 8 years old. My dad raced drag race snowmobiles, helped friends on cars. His previous someone he worked for ran cars. I want to say it might have been like a sportsman type thing on the Pass tour back when Pass had the modifieds, supers, and I think it was sportsman. I was sitting in the grandstands. I wasn't old enough to go on the pits yet until I turned 10.
Yeah.
And once I turned 10, I started absorbing everything I could about go-karts and all these cars. I thought it was so fun to go through those pits and see the people I was looking up to, like DJ and Ben. And then just a couple short years later, now I'm racing against them. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. So let's talk about what your schedule is going to be like this year. What are your, when are we going to see you next on the racetrack?
So our schedule this year, we've kind of decided to do our own thing, hand pick and choose our own schedule, kind of much so like Derek does. We kind of got the ball dropped on us last night with the new updated rules for pass. Right now, the 3 certified chassis builders are not one of our chassis. So we are waiting for our chassis to be checked within the next couple of days for us to continue on with our season with the next couple of races we're doing. The next couple of races what we are doing are with pass. But after that, we're going to kind of try out some Granite State racing on some American racers and some single adjustable shocks, which I have not yet tried. So I'm looking forward to that. I really am looking forward to hitting Jennerstown in August for the Motor Mountain Masters. Another track on my bucket list this season is also Nashville Fairground Speedway for the All-American. I'm also looking forward to maybe hitting another track off our bucket list in December with the Snowflake at Five Flags Speedway. And really anything we kind of hear through the grapevine we want to go do. So say if there's a race this weekend at Lee and we don't have anything planned, hey, let's just go to Lee and have some fun this weekend. So we're just looking to have fun this year, not so under pressure with points and anything like that.
Yeah. Okay, so we did this with Jackson. We had Jackson Boone on last night. We're going to do this with you as well. Let's kind of get to know you a little bit outside of racing and all that. Okay, here we go. Outside of racing, what do you like to do?
Outside of racing, I like to work at my home track of Oxford Plains Speedway. I like to help my dad work on snowmobiles. I like to ride snowmobiles. Other than hang out with friends and family, but other than that, I'm strictly racing 24/7. I eat, sleep, and breathe this sport.
Me too. So, yeah, it's what all racers are. Okay. Okay. What is something? Okay, name 3 things people might not know about you.
3 things people might not know about me is I don't go to an actual like in-person high school. I do an online high school.
Yep.
This is a tricky one.
Yeah.
I have one pet.
Yep.
It's a dog. Her name is Dega. I like to call her my mascot or my emotional support dog because every time she goes to the races, we end up doing well. What's the 3rd thing? I don't really know.
Yeah. It's there's quite a bit. Of course, I mean, I don't think many people knew, like, from the, coming from the Northeast, you have Maine has actually a rich history of racing up in Northeast because you got yourself, Derek Griffith, of course, Ricky Craven from Maine as well. What's it like to race up in the Northeast?
To me, the racing in the Northeast is more healthy than it is in the South. To me, the competition level up here is insane. Any pass race, we have 30 to 40 cars any given week. Compared to down South, you have 15 to 20. So I feel like the racing here is harder than it is down in North Carolina, just because everyone works so hard here. No one has hired guys. Everyone's basically volunteering their time to work on these cars. I mean, you might have a couple guys that have full-time crew chiefs, but other than that, it's basically everyone with full-time jobs doing this on the weekends.
Yeah, it's definitely something. So, yeah, of course, we'll be following you and the rest of the 7 Kulwicki Driver Development throughout the year. We're gonna, of course, we'll have you on back in a few months to talk about how you're doing. And well, Kate Ray, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this, and congratulations. And we'll of course follow the standings throughout the year.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.